true. Yeah.
So when people started talking about, oh, I'm on the keto diet and I'm doing the keto diet, I was like, really?
I asked several people if they had seizure disorder history. I said no.
Right. And I thought, and in my experience, I would spend an entire day doing calculations of how much fat, how much carbohydrate, even how much protein. And the ketogenic diet, as it's used to control seizures, is really done in very strict ratios. And you're very cautious about weighing and measuring and being very precise with the amount and the types of foods to make sure that you have the response you want to help that child.
Oh, so a ketogenic diet, you're saying, is maybe different than what people consider a keto diet.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think what we're seeing today, where when people are describing to me, well, I'm doing the keto diet, I'll often ask, like, well, how are you doing it?
Yeah.
And oftentimes in their description, they're eating fat and protein in large quantities and eating very few carbohydrate-rich foods. And so in my opinion, that sounds more like a modified Atkins type diet, where you're allowing yourself ample quantities of both protein and fat, and just limiting the carbohydrates. And I know there are people who are now, talking to more people and reading more about it, there are people who are looking at this in true carbohydrate restriction, but also maybe some protein restriction. But I think that's maybe a difference that we're maybe seeing across the board that I'm not sure people fully understand what that means.
People are using this for weight loss, right?
Right. And I think, so really and I think one thing to understand is there's differing degrees of ketogenesis, being in ketosis. And so oftentimes that's measured by people measuring their urine ketones. And so people will get, test strips and test their ketones. And it may say that they're in ketosis, but probably the degree of ketosis is probably a variable to be taken into account there. And I think maybe that's, the difference we see between something that's clinical and not.
When I think about ketosis, sometimes I get a little nervous. I think, well, gosh, we don't really actually want you in ketosis. But can you tell us about that?
Right. And I think this is something that is the unknown with when people are saying, well, I'm going to put myself on a ketogenic diet and be in ketosis, because really when you think about what ketosis is, it's a alternative pathway that our body has to use in times of emergency. And